OC Sports is sponsored by Strong.
Too easy. The start of the game was too easy for the Aztecs, handing Hawaii a steady diet of 5'9", 180-pound running back Donnell Pumphrey. San Diego State pumped it up 6 times for 83 yards in their first 2 series with 2 touchdowns.
You know, I think we lost a little confidence in that Boise State game, and those first 2 series, I mean, they take the ball and go down and score. We're not playing with the intensity that we need to play with, and then you know, we get the turnover, and they hit us with a quick one there. We're down 14-zip, and then all of a sudden we started playing again. And you know, you never know with college kids what's going to turn them on, what's going to turn them off, and felt like from that point on we played pretty well. But those first 2 drives, we just didn't have the intensity that we needed.
And they give it to Pumphrey, right side, and Pumphrey off to the races. Touchdown, Aztecs, 34 yards.
Being on the field, they were getting like 10 yards of play. So, I mean, for sure it's way too easy. And like I said, we're just probably not playing fundamentally sound football, not being in our gaps, doing different techniques, playing our own little thing.
Another first down play, another run by Donnell Pumphrey.
I don't know, I'm frustrated. Got to go back to the drawing board, see what happened on Monday, see the mistakes that we made and get better. I mean, me included, I mean, I gave up a corner ball, I gave up a deep ball, and I made a couple mistakes that cost the team, I feel like. So, I mean, I got to do more. Everybody has to do more, starting from the scout team to the top. I mean, everybody has to give more. We got to be all in, start every little detail, start making sure we cross that off our list and doing everything right.
On first down in the first quarter, Aztecs averaged 8.7 yards per play. I hope you're all having a pleasant evening. I'm Robert Kikaula. This is Inside Access here in OC Sports. A happy homecoming, it wasn't. Not against a team that all-time has never lost as the homecoming opponent at Aloha Stadium. 5-0. And the Rainbow Warriors on offense, slow in getting started again. But it's not to say they didn't make some plays. A completed pass to Isaiah Bernard. Max Willett and Bernard to the 20, to the 10. Isaiah Bernard! Hits and misses. Far too many of them. Drops, miscues, misfires, missed opportunities. And they go flea flicker, does Hawaii. Max Willett has an open receiver, and he missed it.
You go now, you tie it 14-14 after being down 2 scores, and you get momentum back. And you know, but it didn't happen. You still got to execute after that. So, you know, however it happens, it doesn't matter. You know, however the flow goes during the game, you still have to focus on executing every play.
The drought did end, though, after 9.5 scoreless quarters of football. Outscored 107-0 in that stretch. It wasn't easy. But Melvin Davis punched it in from the 1-yard line.
It's an accomplishment, you know, but I give all the credit to my linemen, you know, because without them, I wouldn't have got to where I was at, and to the coaches that put the scheme together. So it's a big relief.
He's in shape. I think he's really practiced well in the last couple weeks, and yeah, he hit the hole hard. He's bouncing off guys, and he's being very aggressive. And yeah, I think that's a plus for us going forward.
Rainbow Warriors lost the turnover battle again, 3-1. One Hawaii player had 19 tackles himself. Rigo Sanchez punted 8 times, averaging 47.9 yards, and time of possession completely one-sided in favor of the other guys. Lots to talk about. This is Inside Access here in OC Sports. Final score, Hawaii losing its homecoming game to the Aztecs of San Diego State, 28-14. Rainbow Warriors record 2-4 overall, 0-2 in the Mountain West Conference. Welcome back to Inside Access here in OC Sports. That was not pleasant scene, not a pleasant sound. At halftime, Hawaii trailed 21-7, fifth time in the last 8 games that San Diego State held its opponent to 7 points or less at the break. Welcome with Nate Ilawa, Stephen Tsai, Rich Miano, my broadcast partner, to Inside Access. Not what many had expected.
Yeah, I think most pundits, prognosticators figured this Mountain West Division, San Diego State would be a worthy opponent. But where is Hawaii on the barometer of success? In that this was at home, they've played well at home. We know about the struggles on the road. This is one that Hawaii needed to win.
Preseason, Aztecs picked to win the West Division in the Mountain West, but Hawaii a favorite at Aloha Stadium.
Yeah, but the line had moved, so people were kind of seeing a lot of the problems Hawaii was having, and one of the problems is injuries. They didn't have their full team. They've not been able to practice with the full starters the whole week. And I mean, you got a guy like Max Wittek, the quarterback, who's not there the first 2 practices of the week. You don't have your same people. I guess they've got, 6 games and 6 different starting lineups. So I don't think this team is where it wants to be right now. Huh?
And you mentioned line for entertainment purposes only. Thank you, Stephen. You love good running back play.
I do.
Aztecs had a good running back.
And that's another thing, he wasn't supposed to play.
High ankle injury, my foot.
and that was the thing, kind of caught everybody off guard. 2 touchdowns in the first 6 minutes with him, kind of leading the way, and that set the tone for the game. And I thought, Hawaii coming off the road woes that they had, you needed this game. Being at home, sleeping in your own bed, and practicing at home. Being at home, you needed to come out and set the tone, and it didn't happen.
Let's talk about that guy, Donnell Pumphrey. His numbers: 30 carries, 148 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's 5'9", 180 pounds, a junior from Las Vegas.
My hat's off to him. The kid's fast. He does a great job reading behind their offensive line, picking which holes he wants to do. So, I mean, they give him a lot of freedom to do what he wants in that offense, but he makes a lot of good decisions.
You surprised that he can run between the tackles as well as he can run to the outside?
Yeah, that was actually surprising. I mean, because he's not the biggest guy, but, I mean, he really just has great vision. I mean, he knows where the holes are going to be. He has a great feel in that offense. I mean, last year he ran for like 1,800 yards. So, I mean, that's an accomplishment of in itself. So, he knows what he's doing in that offense. So my hat's off to the guy. He's a phenomenal player.
3 touchdown game of his career, 35 rushing TDs in his career, 37 total touchdowns in his career. You were impressed by him, I know.
I was so impressed, and my son after the game, was waiting for his autograph, and he's better than advertised, Robert. I think if Sports Science did a breakdown on him in terms of going full speed and be able to change directions, phenomenal. And as Julian Jenner talked about, the ability to run inside the tackles, to me, is another incredible trait for a guy that I'm not sure is 5'9", 170. He may be 5'7", 160. I mean, he's a phenomenal talent.
You were on the field. Is he 5'9", 180?
He's small. He's definitely, I don't think he's 180. A lot lighter than that, but his quickness really stood out to me live. Watching him get in and out of his breaks, forcing arm tackles and breaking through those. And that's one of those things, those kind of guys, you got to corral them. There's got to be more than one guy trying to tackle somebody like that, because he's going to make the first guy miss. You got to hope that, you got enough guys in different levels, to make it tough for him, and they weren't able to do it.
And the danger of a good run game, you get a defense to pay so much attention to that run game, play action hurts. 2nd and 4, 42-yard line, 1:45. Smith, play action, has the man wide open, touchdown. It'll be good for the Aztecs. They go for the home run, and they get it. 58 yards, Eric Judge. So the 58-yard strike to a guy who barely is involved in a pass game, Stephen, Eric Judge, that hurt.
It did, and especially from a quarterback who wasn't very good in the first 5 games of the season. But again, if everyone's playing the run, he's going to hit it deep, and he did. Maxwell
Smith, their quarterback, 6'5", 235 pounds, transfer from Kentucky, 11 of 15, 184 yards, and a touchdown. It still is a game of football, no matter how it changes over the years. The run game is so effective. no matter who your quarterback is. He hasn't been that effective as a quarterback. That run game makes him that much better.
You're exactly right. Effective, no, but efficient.
Yeah.
No interceptions, play action pass, set up, as you talked about, by the great run game. The impressive thing about San Diego State is you know what they're going to do. They do what they do, and the system prevails. Because if you have a running game on offense, what do you do on defense? You learn how to stop the run. And if you can stop the run and make a team predictable, Robert, you have a great opportunity to win. Plus, they won the turnover battle. Game over.
One player on defense for Hawaii, 19 tackles by himself. We'll hear from him when Inside Access here in OC Sports continues after this time. Welcome back to Inside Access here on OC Sports. How can you not get jacked up? Linebackers coach Kurt Govea. Linebacker Julian Jenner, 5'11", 225 pounds. Check his numbers. 19 tackles against the Aztecs. 17 of them were solo stops. This kid has got some swag.
I don't feel like you can never have too much swag. I mean, I just feel like the more swag you got, the more it's just you can pass it on. I mean, me, I don't feel like swag. I feel like swag is much more of it. For me, it's much more confidence. Like, I'm very confident in who I am, the way I play, and the way I can play. It's who I am. It's what makes me. I mean, I believe I'm the best on the field at any given moment of the time. If you don't have it, if you're not ready to play, you don't have that confidence. If you don't believe that you can play, I don't want you lined up next to me. I mean, if physically you're not the biggest guy, the strongest, whatever.
You don't have to be.
You don't, by no means. But if you believe you can do it, then I want you next to me. Because I need somebody who believes they can do it, not just, I can do it, but I don't know if I can, like stuff like that. I don't need that kind of thinking. I want just 100% belief in you.
Preach, young man, preach. Nady Lau, how can you not love that?
I'm getting fired up just listening to him, and that's one of those things. You're just going to need more of it. I mean, more of those individuals. He mentioned, trying to pass it along, and I may not agree with passing it on, but others need to step up and match his swag pretty much.
Now, can you coach swag? Can you give swag? Or do you have swag?
Well, I think it's one of those things, you see others that have it, but I don't think you can take it from anybody, honestly. I believe you have to build it up yourself, and what he's talking about is the confidence level that he's acquired through hard work, dedication in the offseason, and it's pouring out on the football field. And I think others need to follow suit. They've all worked hard, and I think they just need to step up and, pull their end.
You don't have to be the biggest, tallest, strongest, fastest. Can you play?
Yeah, and you got to love the fact that he admitted he overran that first touchdown.
Sure.
He got beat by Pumphrey down the middle on a go route. He didn't play perfect because it's not a game of perfection, but he played inspired. And if you have swag guys, like I think Kennedy has swag, he may not talk about it, but you see the smile on his face knowing he's better than whoever he plays against. You look at a guy like Naquan, he's short, but he plays with a lot of confidence. I love this kid, and I love his attitude, and there's a fine line, Robert, between confidence and cockiness, and he's able to straddle that, but he's able to back it up. Love it.
Kennedy Tulimaseli has got ninja swag.
Yeah.
Because he'll hit you, sack a quarterback,
Pick you up.
smile, and then pick you up. Like, really? Swag. Who's had the most swag since you've covered UH football?
Well, I just think usually that comes from an offensive guy because they even get the dance and everything. But, in the preseason, they had a talent show, and Julian Jenner did a little Selena, and he danced too. So he's got a little moving swag there, too. He is Swaggy G.
Swaggy G? Has anybody had more swag than someone slap dance? Al Nova?
He had swag because he had it on his license plate. He had it on his dashboard. You knew when the sack man arrived.
Offense.
You had a license plate?
Yeah, someone sack man. Sack man, sack man.
Oh, but after college.
Yeah.
Yes.
Offense. It's been a struggle. Let's face it. The struggle is real on offense. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. We've seen it. 5 drops against San Diego State. 4 in the first half. It's almost epidemic.
It really is, and the offensive identity to me is the biggest question offensively about this team. And you talked about the drops, so you can talk about some of the things they can get better at, but they are so beat up offensively, Robert. I'm not sure they have had enough success to believe in what they're doing, so there's schematic questions as well. And then when you think about, receivers not able to separate, I thought that Stephen Lakalaka was better in pass protection, but he wasn't the answer in terms of running the football game, at least this past week. So where do they go from here? And I think it's more mental than it is physical, but there's some physical problems, and they've dealt with a tough schedule in terms of who was the opposing defense thus far. They'll get better, but it's going to take a whole bunch of things.
I think some of the frustration when coaches look at the game tape is that it's there. Some of the frustration is schematically sometimes players are in the right place, sometimes plays aren't being made. Is it back to the drawing board again come Monday morning?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to, dust ourselves off and see what we did wrong and stay positive, and we got to keep moving ahead. You can't get better by putting your head down. So you just get your chest out, put your head up, and keep fighting.
Away quarterback Max Wittig, 14 of 34, 179 yards, 2 INTs, got hurt, came back into the game late, and he has a rushing touchdown. When he was out of action, Ikaika Woozy back in, the junior, 6'1", 215 pounds. He was 5 for 5, just 19 yards, rushed for 11 yards. Maybe the pleasant surprise to the offense was the big guy, Melvin Davis at running back, 13 rushes, 52 yards, and did get into the end zone. As the game went on, we could see it. Could you feel it that you were hitting that hole, you were attacking, weren't you?
Yeah, that was my whole game plan throughout the whole week. I practiced really hard. Our coach emphasizes stay on your landmarks, stay on your tracks, and just hit the A, press the A. And, that was my focus. Every time I was in the game, just hit the hole hard.
I thought he ran the ball real hard today in between the tackles, and he broke some tackles, and around the goal line he was very big. That's why we need him, around the goal line. So I like the way he ran the ball. Yeah, I think that's a positive.
In layman's terms, describe press the A.
I'm thinking that's a video game term.
That's not Madden. That's not real
That's
football.
the Xbox. Oh, yeah, it's one of those things you just keep the gas going. Or if you're trying to break tackles, I don't know, the buttons switch every year. But the thing is, keep fighting. I think pretty much is what coach is trying to instill in them. To not go down on the first tackle, to break tackles, keep the chains moving, keep the pile moving. What I thought was interesting was him talking about him being around the goal line area. I think the biggest issue is you got to get to the goal line area more. And I mean, he's good for short yardage and things like that, but we got to get third and short more, as far as the offense goes. And I think it all comes into play with, protecting Max Wittig, giving him more time. I saw some of the highlights. He looked he's throwing and kind of ducking, getting away, and there's no pressure around him and things like that. And I think it kind of snowballs and domino effects to everything else.
There were times Melvin Davis attacked the line of scrimmage in that game.
Right, and in fact, in practices, John Butler, I believe is his roommate, is always yelling at him, don't tiptoe, don't tiptoe. And that's one of those things that they keep trying to remind him, because that seems to be a tendency. He's trying to look for things. If the holes aren't there, he's big enough to create his own holes.
That's a scary thought when you're 250 pounds, that you have to remind someone not to tiptoe, because, Nate had great feet as he continued to get bigger, but he also was an attacking style back. And if you're 250 pounds, you shouldn't have to tell somebody that.
You just complimented him and didn't compliment him in the same sentence.
That's how I am, bro. You got to coach through negativity after I love you up.
Even keel.
There was a moment in that game, and it was a coming out party for Isaiah Bernard. He was open on the flea flicker, had a 52-yard reception. There was also a moment where, what was going on? Look at the back of his jersey, the top side, right below his helmet. There used to be a name at one point. Start of the game, his last name was Bernard. At the end of that 52-yard play, everybody went blank on his last name. Check the pitch. The tackle was so good by San Diego State, they ripped the name right off his jersey.
That's identity theft, man.
How does that identity theft happen?
But again, if this team is going to be any good, you got to be good down to the equipment guy, and
Don't blame the equipment guy. He's a good guy.
You play for the name on front of your jersey, Hawaii, and then it's the family name on the back. So he had no identity.
If this was Family Feud, I'd be going, good answer, good answer. That was horrible answer. That was horrible answer.
Over to the
Robert, in the old
family.
they sewed it on. What is it now? Is it Velcro?
It's Velcro, it's stickers. We'll hear from Hawaii head coach Norm Chow when Inside Access here in OC Sports continues after this timeout.
Inside Access on OC Sports is sponsored by Strong.
Final numbers, Hawaii against San Diego State. Welcome back to Inside Access here in OC Sports. Numbers aren't pretty. Total offense, 402 yards in favor of the Aztecs to 251 for Hawaii. Penalties, 11 for San Diego State. There's 4 for Hawaii. And time of possession, it's adding up as the games go by. 36 minutes, 17 seconds for San Diego State, 23-43 for Hawaii. Turnovers, I know that's your thing, it's your pet peeve. 3-1 against
Yeah,
UH.
it is a pet peeve, Robert, and I always talk about score being the most important statistic, but after that, it is turnovers. And this 4-year tenure of Coach Norm Chow, the turnover ratio has never been in their favor, and they've been somewhere in the 100 area. So if they're ever going to get better, they're going to have to win the turnover battle. And I'm not just talking about offensively giving it away, obviously. That means you're not taking it away defensively. So it's the whole team problem. It's not just an offensive or defensive issue.
This much we've come to learn at the later stages of our lives. We can't take this guy anywhere. He's got a camera phone. And through the eyes of Cy, through Cy's eyes.
All 4 of them.
All 4 of them. Through Cy's eyes this week, what do we have?
We have
Who's that?
Kennedy's family, and that's not even. They're even more trying to get into the picture. But this is what they show up. This is why attendance is so good on the west side of the
The
stadium.
west side? Tony Marcellis.
Can we scholarship some of those young kids already?
That's offers. Let's make offers. What else we got?
They have swag, by the way.
That's way. This is the entrance.
This is the entrance, and you can see that the coaches have a little bit of swag, except for Abe, who tries to flash the side. You know, he's got swag. He's always had swag.
He's always got swag. This is the Warrior Walk, officially called the Warrior Walk.
Right, and it started. Oh well.
Is that Bruno Mars?
In the house.
No, but interestingly enough, the last Filipino impersonator of Elvis became Bruno Mars, right?
Yes.
So I think he's got a shot.
Did Jerry Glanville leave tickets for that guy?
I felt sorry. He couldn't finish his whole song because then they have to play Hawaii 5-0.
Let's see.
Doesn't seem like he has a big crowd.
It's not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. For
It's got a
free.
future, yeah.
For free.
Whatever entertainment. Imagine if you could get Bruno Mars, then
Oh.
sell out 50,000
and
people.
credit to Aloha Stadium people trying to make the entertainment value
Yes.
at the stadium that much better.
Game day experience.
Here's Hawaii head coach Norm Chow joining us here on Inside Access. It was another one of those type of games. There were chances. There were opportunities. And this team puts itself in those opportunities. They got to cash in.
No question about it, Robert. We're, obviously very disappointed because there were opportunities. I don't know what happens at the start. I mean, we come out flat for whatever reasons, fell behind 14 and came back and had some chances. And we need, like you say, we need to cash in, and we weren't able to do so.
Running back Donnell Pumphrey is a good. I mean, you look at him, not very big, not very tall, and it's surprising how effective he can be running inside tackle as well as bouncing it outside. But those first 2 series, too easy.
It was way too easy, and that's how we were going to judge ourselves. Now, we made the adjustments, and we stopped it later on, but by then, you're trailing by 2, and he is an awfully good player. I congratulated him after the game, and he's a little fella now.
Is there, in your years of coaching, have you discovered the secret formula as a mad scientist on how to get over it, how to move on, how to get past it?
Oh yeah, we have to. This is a grueling thing now. Without the bye, and the fact that we have to play week after week, obviously, and we're chipped up, yeah, we have to. And I told the players this morning, we met this morning at 7, and we told them, we said that, hey, let's forget about it. We can't do anything about that. We're all disappointed, but we have to move on. The next 7 games are games that we can be in, and we should do well, but we have to have the right frame of mind.
It's a MASH unit. The list is long. How good's the medical plan around here? Wow.
It's brutal, but again, we don't make excuses. We next man up. A great example is Dakota Torres. Our 2 tight ends, we lost in, I believe, the first 10 plays. Dakota was ready to go, because he practices that way. Now, those that aren't ready to go because they're on the sideline saying, I should be playing whatever, those are the guys that we got to get ready. But I think it's a great credit to Dakota Torres that he was able to play and played well, besides.
Dakota Torres. You hear coaches for years say, be ready. Next man up, be ready. And it's almost coaching cliche. But Dakota Torres epitomizes, get your opportunity, take advantage of your opportunity. And if you're not paying attention, he's the guy now at tight end.
There's no question about that. And I can tell you stories about people that were not ready, haven't been ready. He's bringing up names, but it's a great story, and it's a lesson that we all have to learn, and we're going to talk about that this afternoon as well.
You get New Mexico. Lucky for you, you get to go back on the road. It's a throwback style of football. It changes everything defensively for you.
Well, it really does, because you only have 3 days to prepare. We leave Thursday morning. Well, hopefully we'll have 4 days. Well, no, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because we're not meeting today. And it's a unique brand of triple option football that our defensive coaches have their work cut out for us.
Coach, another road trip. Lucky for you. I wish you luck against the Lobos this week.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Robert. Thanks for having me.
Inside Access returns. Welcome back to Inside Access here on OC Sports. Time now for our weekly venture into the dark side of fantasy football. Joining us from OC Sports, Derek Honma. There's been a muscle hamster sighting. Where do you come from?
We're looking at it. We got our first animated GIF, and if you were an owner that held on to Doug Martin, you were doing, I believe the kids call this the Nene, Robert. All Sunday long.
I must admit, I drafted him last year in 3 different leagues, didn't do squat, and I personally said he's 86th from every fantasy team I've ever been part of since.
Oh, he showed up this weekend, man. The muscle hamster is back, and we saw flashes this preseason, but up to this point, he's been average at best. You basically saw that same Doug Martin that you saw in that rookie breakout year. Rushed for 24 rushes, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also threw in a receiving touchdown, 33 total fantasy points. I feel good about starting him as a low-end RB1, high-end RB2. He's on a bye week this week, so you may have to find another replacement, but definitely a guy that you slot in as a weekly starter. And our other stud, basically, Thomas Rawls, from Seattle. Had a bad week last week on Monday Night Football, but showed up on Sunday. If Marshawn Lynch is showing that wear and tear of a senior running back that has gotten a lot of mileage on it, this could be a guy that you got to bench, especially if Marshawn Lynch is in the lineup this week. Hold on to him. He could have a good breakout year this year.
Before this season, before the injury, before being banged up, Marshawn Lynch, the only Rawls I ever heard of was Lou Rawls, the singer. Who's the dud of the week?
Oh, man, so many to choose from. You got Jimmy Graham with his 3 for 30 performance. You have the wonderful Denver Bronco backfield with Ronnie Hillman and C.J. Anderson, but we're going to go Eddie Lacy, Green Bay Packers. And wow, 13 rushes, 27 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 fantasy points. From a guy that you drafted second, third, maybe even first in a couple drafts. Huge dud, but definitely be patient with him. I'm saying if you got him, hold on to him. Better weeks to come. Last year started off slow, ended up with over 1,000 yards rushing, over 9 touchdowns, so you got to hope for that. But if there's someone in your league that's panicking, go after him. Put up a trade offer. Maybe you get him. Buy low now. I think he has good things to come. And our other dud, I hate to say it, Peyton Manning, 5 weeks in a row. The Broncos are 5-0, but this is where fantasy football is definitely different from reality football. And this is not a fantasy starter. This is not a QB1. This is a guy you bench for other options like Josh McCown, Phillip Rivers, and even Carson Palmer and Andy Dalton.
Really? Sounds like a swear word. Peyton Manning, not QB1 in fantasy football.
Not good.
On the waiver wire, there's surprises. The biggest surprise has to be the quarterback that plays for the Cleveland Browns.
We're going to go Josh McCown, definitely. 26 for 51, 457 yards
What?
passing, 3 touchdowns, 35 fantasy points. I mean, the guy has quietly been putting up some really good numbers, averaging about 23 fantasy points over the past 3 weeks, including this huge breakout game. But he's up against the Denver Broncos this week.
And his brother gets television commercials.
He's up against the Broncos, and the Broncos are going to put up a huge test for this guy, but definitely a guy that I might look at starting over Peyton Manning. Another bust. We talked about it a few weeks back, Andre Johnson, and this is a guy, of course, how fantasy works, right? You drop him, you bench him, he does nothing, and he breaks out in the revenge game. 6 catches, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns, 19 fantasy points.
I have to raise my hand. I benched him. 3 different teams.
I dropped him.
Thanks for showing up, Andre. Waiver wire this week. Who to look for?
Waiver wire targets. I think you got to look at Willie Snead from the New Orleans Saints. 6 receptions, 141 yards, 13 fantasy points this past weekend, leading the Saints in targets. So definitely a guy that you can target, especially in PPR leagues. And the other guy, Gary Barnidge, with the tight end kind of landscape so volatile. Basically, you have guys like Travis Kelce, Tyler Eifert up, down. You have injuries to Jordan Reed. You have Delaney Walker. So much questions at that position. Barnidge has sneakily been a tight end 1, so definitely a guy that you pick up if he's available in your leagues. And the big news, Jamal Charles out with the ACL injury. Unknown who the actual slot-in is going to be. A lot of people are saying Shakandrick West. Possibly you look at a target, but as of this morning, they're trying out Ben Tate. They had Pierre Thomas in for walkthroughs, so you got to kind of keep it out there. But if you're a Charles owner, definitely a sad day. But I'm saying Shakandrick West is probably your target on the waiver wire, your number 1 waiver wire pickup.
Fantasy football is raising the blood pressure levels. It's killing me. Brutal. Derek Honma from OC Sports, thank you for joining us from the dark side.
Thanks, Robert.
Let's get ready to go. Sponsored by Supercuts.
And ready to go against head coach Bob Davie and New Mexico State on the road in Albuquerque. That's next for Hawaii this week. Lobos 3-3 overall, 1-1 in the MWC. Off a loss at Nevada, 35-17. Gave up 517 yards of total offense against the Wolfpack. 11 different ball carriers against Nevada, led by Terrion Gibson, had 11 carries, 68 yards. Austin Apodaca and Lamar Jordan combined, they don't throw the ball very well. 19 for 24, 138 yards, and 1 interception. It's triple option, old school triple option. They cut block 15 yards down the field. This is like 1940s style football, which when Hawaii had triple option, Paul Johnson, anybody who runs triple option, when it works, it's a thing of beauty. When it doesn't work, oh, it's ugly. It's tough. Are you a fan of triple option?
I used to be growing up. You know, a lot of the, Pop Warner leagues, we would run those wing tee, triple option type of things, but
because you're on the offensive side.
Yeah, so it was a good.
You weren't getting your legs cut.
Doing the cutting.
We were cutting.
Cut.
Yeah.
But I do know it's assignment football defensively. You have to be very, very disciplined.
Well, it's like you got to be a Marine to play defense. Like, it's discipline. One guy is off, it's over.
Yeah, it is. And, you talk about the cutting aspect. That's a dangerous aspect that I obviously don't enjoy. But when you talk about what they actually do, if you're not disciplined on defense, and I think Tom Mason's been around football for 39 years, and again, they're going to play Air Force, and I watched them during training camp work on the option, so this is not going to be the first week. But it is a short week, Robert, because of the travel, and you can't card this stuff up and emulate the speed, and they're going to have to start a lot faster than they did against San Diego State, because you know what they're going to do. The problem is making sure that you are more disciplined than you've ever been playing defense this season.
And there's only a handful of teams that run this offense in college football. Here's the thing, Stephen. Defensively, New Mexico, Nevada hit them for 350-plus yards rushing.
Right, and this is still a growing program. I believe it's only his 4th year over there, and he was in the play-by-play booth for a long time before that. So I think one of the regrets was they didn't redshirt more guys when he first took over, and they couldn't because they really had to get the program going. So now a lot of these seniors are really only 4th-year seniors, and I think they're still building this program. So it's going to take a while, especially defensively.
Hawaii got to get back on track. They lost one at home. They got to steal one on the road to get back on track. We'll talk about Hawaii versus New Mexico next week on Inside Access. For Nady Lawa, Stephen Tsai, Rich Miano, and our entire crew, we'll catch you next week. I'm Robert Kikaula. Thank you for joining us here on Inside Access on OC Sports.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Howard Deshefsky, sitting in for Kanoa Leahy. Happy to be joined by these two gentlemen right here, Rob DeMello, Bobby Kern. We got a great show coming your way. But seriously?
Bank of Hawaii is proud to sponsor this program. But seriously?
Another Saturday, another what has become an all too common occurrence, a disappointing loss by the Rainbow Warrior football team. Okay, guys, Saturday night before a semi-decent crowd, all things considering, before some of the people even had a chance to sit down with their snacks and their beverages, it was a 14-zip game. Where do we start, Bobby? You were up in the booth. You're the voice of the Bows on the radio. What do you say?
Let's start with Donnell Pumphrey. The running game for San Diego State was crazy. First drive is, 75 yards and 7 plays and not a single pass. Because Rocky Long has forever been the guy who says, if you don't stop, I don't change. And they didn't. Finally, when UH started to bring more guys into the box on the second, they threw 1 pass, I think. I mean, that's just... You have to do better. And I will say, Donnell Pumphrey, not only is he quick as a cat, but that was the fastest heel from a high ankle sprain I have ever seen.
Yeah. Makes you wonder, high ankle sprain?
Yeah.
Let's see, what's going on over there? But the most frustrating part about that game is that on offense, when San Diego State was on offense, you knew what they were going to do, and that was run with Donnell Pumphrey, and Hawaii just couldn't stop it. When Hawaii had the ball, you knew what Hawaii was trying to do, because the Aztecs come out in a 3-3-5 stack. They're saying, beat us with the running game. I dare you. And Hawaii couldn't do it. So it came down to one of those situations where there was no mystery, there were no smoke and mirrors or anything. It was Hawaii had an opportunity to beat San Diego State, take advantage of situations by knowing what they're going to do, and by San Diego State being in a defense that allows you to win the football game, and just couldn't get it done. I think that's the most frustrating part.
The University of Hawaii defense, we were all given hope even in that big shutout defeat at #1 Ohio State. And we can talk about Jenner, we will in a moment. But as a whole, this defense, game by game, 3 road trips, 3 shutouts on the road, is this defense already exhausted 6 games into the season?
I think fatigue is going to take its part with the schedule, but the opponents are getting easier. And the thing about San Diego State, they're gifted. They self-destruct, or have in some of their other games. I mean, they were tied 7-up with Cal. They made a bunch of mistakes to get down by 14 at halftime, but they were in it 4 minutes left in the first half. That's been their losses. It's not a matter of talent. Now you play against 2 teams in New Mexico and Nevada who aren't as gifted as San Diego State. Now I really think you find out exactly where this team is. Can you beat people where you have the talent advantage? If you can't, you're in for a really long year.
With what you said, I think eerily similar and, for lack of a better term, scary to 2013, where the University of Hawaii offense struggled big time to start the year. The University of Hawaii defense played really well, but then you got to that middle part of the season when you started playing teams that maybe you had a better chance at beating. The offense finally clicked, they figured it out, but by then the defense was exhausted and they gave up a ton of points, and that led to the dismissal of Tom Kallmeyer as defensive coordinator. I think that's the big fear, is that you saw it in this game. The defense played their butts off in that second half, really from the second drive on, but after that game, Julian Jenner's face was blistered. You saw guys limping to the locker room. There's fear that this defense has just been through a train wreck through the first 5 games of the season.
Okay, well then let's put it on the offense. Going back to 2013, when all of a sudden, Sean Schroeder all of a sudden started looking like Nick Rolovich of years past. Do you see Max Wittek or whomever leading the offense, and all of a sudden everybody's saying, wow?
I don't see that, but we also didn't see it from Sean Schroeder until it actually happened. So, I mean, nothing has shown me that, okay, this offense is going to start putting up 400-yard passing performances. But like I said, we didn't see that coming from Sean Schroeder either. It's not like it was a Colt Brennan in 2005 where it's like, oh, this guy's got something special. We'll see what happens when Devon Best and Ryan Grace Mullen figure it out. We just have to wait and see and hope that they're practicing and the game plan and drilling it into their head finally comes through.
But I think receiver all receivers, quarterback, have to play better. And I just think it doesn't help anybody to say, oh no, like Max Wittek is fine. I think Max Wittek has not played as well in games as he has in practice, and he needs to step it up. And the receivers need to get separation, and when they get a ball in their hands, they need to call it in. I mean, we have had some, I think, breakdowns on execution on the offensive side, and if they can get those fixed, and my issue with the running backs is not their ball carrying, it's their blocking. If they get that straightened out, they're going to be effective, and it's just a matter of staying the course.
With that being said, though, if the running backs don't start to pick up positive yardage, more than 2 yards per carry, then Max Wittek isn't going to get any better because he's uncomfortable in that pocket, and for good reason, because he's been getting blasted over the first 6 games of the year. He is not going to be comfortable. The receivers aren't going to be able to run proper routes until the running backs start gaining 4 or 5 yards at a time at the minimum, so the defense can at least be concerned that, oh, this UH offense can beat us with the run if we're not careful.
Okay, guys, we already talked about Donnell Pumphrey. How good is he, Bobby? You talked about quickness, the likes you haven't seen before.
Well, I think his change of direction is the best in the conference. I'm familiar with some of the guys. Irvin in San Jose State is good. We saw Jeremy McNichols from Boise State, but none of those guys have this ability to change direction like Donnell Pumphrey. He's got another gear, and he picks his spot so well. So it's a combination of the quickness and the vision. I think as small as he is, I think he's got a real shot at next level.
And when you say small, I stood next to this guy at Aloha Stadium, and we're about the same size, and I'm not a big guy at all. And how he is able to pump his legs when he's met at the line of scrimmage or even past the line of scrimmage, he leans forward and digs into the turf, and you would think that this guy has the legs the size of Robert Kikaula, but he doesn't. He's a slim guy, and he's pretty slender, and yet the way he's able to find power on that lower part of his body is unbelievable. And the last guy I could kind of remember being like this that Hawaii has played and consistently was Ryan Moats at Louisiana Tech. And since then, I mean, all the great running backs to come through the WAC or Mountain West Conference have been your prototypical big running backs that can power through. This guy can do it all. And if Ryan Moats is showing that he had a long NFL career, I think this guy will as well.
Okay, guys, back to the D. Jenner, he was a stopping machine. If you saw him in the post-game press conference, bruised, bleeding, battered, but also a career-high 19 tackles. The guy was fantastic.
Well, not only the 19 tackles, Howard, but 14 of them were solo stops. The guy is so instinctive, and if you stand next to him, you're talking about standing next to Pumphrey, you think big-time college linebacker. Jenner does not fit the bill physically. He's shorter. He doesn't look the 230 pounds he's listed at, but man, when it comes time to make a play, he is all over it. The guy is terrific, and when he's not in the game, I think it makes a difference for that defense.
He's a throwback. He's the kind of guy that you expected to see in the 1980s playing for the University of Hawaii at linebacker, and he's had some hard luck on as far as injuries go. He hasn't played more than 6 games in a season for his entire UH career.